All right. So let's kick this off, huh?
Go ahead.
Today we're going to if I can get to my notes, how many screens do I have? Today we're going to cover top 5 concerts that both Dave and I have attended.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Here we go. Hello, Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland.
So you want to give your number 5?
I do. My number 5 is there. My number 5 is it's my first concert. It's the first concert I ever went to. It was in 1988, and it was In Excess and Ziggy Marley opened up. It was at Pine Knob, and September 4th, 1988. I believe that was our. I don't know if I want to do this, but it was the beginning, I believe, of our junior year. 88, yeah, junior year.
Yeah. So was that when Kick came out?
Yes, it was the Kick album. Yeah, it's a long time ago. They ended with
that's
Tear Us Apart.
Such a great band. I would have loved to seen In Excess.
It was good.
Lucky.
It was good. Yeah. It was the first time I had ever. Well, it was an outdoor show. Let's just say that there was stuff wafting through the air, and it was so I did get the smell of the devil's lettuce. Did not partake in the devil's lettuce, but it was the first time I was with some folks that, like, I was a 15-year-old that got a permit to work at Mr. C's. Remember Mr. C's Pizza?
Oh yeah.
And I worked at Mr. C's, and some of the folks there were going to go see the concert, and I'm like, oh, I love them. And like, we actually had to ask my parents for permission, and my mom knew a lot of the folks I was working with, so I got to go with them. So I was like adulting for the very first time. Didn't drink, didn't partake in the devil's lettuce, but I love the show. It was a great show. It was awesome.
Yeah, like I said, I would have loved to seen In Excess. Michael Hutchence was just one of the greatest frontmans of the 80s, of all the 80s bands. He was just, the whole band was incredible.
Yeah. It was an awesome show. Dave.
Number 5. Before I start off my list, like, it seems like every time I do one of these lists, I have so many that it's hard to choose 5. And I left this band off. I don't know why. It's so hard to crack the top 5, but I've seen Flogging Molly 3 times. The first time I saw him was with the Dropkick Murphys at the Masonic Temple in Detroit, and then just that got me hooked on them as far as going to see them. So every time they've been here since, I've seen them with Social Distortion, one of my all-time favorite bands, at Freedom Hill, and then saw them most recently just this past year with the Violent Femmes and Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. That was a great show. But anyways, to get into my top 5, my number 5 is Alice in Chains, September 29th, 1993 at the State Theater, which was the debut of their Dirt album. So memories from this was, if you've ever been to the State Theater, there's like just a general seating mosh pit type, standing only, and then there's a first level, there's a bar with just a couple tables. We sat up there because
smart.
That's
smart
mosh pit. So I went with some friends from school, and so first thing happens is they open up the curtains, and there's just giant, like, cargo net, I guess you could say, from top to bottom, full stage. And Lane Staley just runs up, and he's like climbing it, singing, and great show. I mean, I, I'm just so glad I got to see Lane Staley before he died, passed away. So here's me and my 12-minute dissertation of my number 5. So
It's like Alice in Chains is like one of those bands that I didn't get to see in that period that I really wish I would. The other one would have been, and since it's not on my list, it's okay. It's like Nirvana. I really wish I would have gotten to see Nirvana.
yep. I
But
remember when they came to Detroit, and I had an opportunity just to to get tickets, order, buy tickets, and I was like, nah, I'll see him next time. And there was no next time. So that's a lesson learned. If you get an opportunity to see somebody that you really like, go see them.
yeah, I 10 years ago I had an opportunity to go see U2 when they were doing their was it the Joshua Tree tour, the reboot of that? Like it was the 30th anniversary, and they were doing it. We were living in Ohio at the time. I would have gone. I didn't go to that, so I've got regrets because I still have yet to see a U2 show yet. So it's on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are we doing? My number 4 now?
2, 3,
Yep.
4. 1,
Okay, so
2.
nobody is probably going to know who this band is. I saw them June 1998 in support of their Purple Finger Syndrome album. I saw them at the Magic Stick. Is that still around up there, Dave? Do you know?
Magic Stick was in Ferndale, or that was a
That was
Magic
the
Bag
The Magic Stick was downtown. It was in Detroit.
downtown.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it. I'm not sure.
So the name of
I'm
the
not
band
sure.
is Machina, and they were musicians from MS. Oh, not, yeah, sorry, MSU. They would kill me for saying that. U of M School of Music. And what I loved about this show is I'm in the back, just kind of like your story. I'm like in the back, wasn't super crowded, but when they started, I was like, wow, that's a new sound. That's a different sound. And then there was this solo, and I thought it was a guitar solo. And I look, it's actually a trumpet. And I'm like, I got to go see how this guy is doing this. So went up to the front of the stage, and I watched them through the whole set. These guys are amazing. We even followed them around Detroit a little bit. They did an 89X. I think when 89X was doing garden parties at the Whitney, we went down there and supported them there. But the trumpet player has a little hole in his mouthpiece, and he's got like a small microphone he puts in there, and he runs that through a guitar rack, and you just
Wow.
these massive sounds. It's just amazing. And we'll put the link in the comments or the description for this video. There is a place you can go out and check out their music. I got their CD from a long time ago, but they haven't released anything on any of the streaming media. So the only place you're gonna be able to find it is in that link that I send out. So, but yeah, the name of the band's Machina. The year was it was June 1998 at the Magic Stick.
Awesome. Let's see, number 4 for me, right?
3, 4. 1, 2.
Dun dun dun. 1991, November 3rd, at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Metallica, the Black Album. It was my second concert that I'd ever attended, and the company was okay. I mean, that we went with, it was okay, but
It was okay. Jerk.
no, it was the thing that it was I think the first time that they did the all-inclusive 360 stage. It was at one end of the arena. It was like a big arrowhead shaped type deal, and they had catwalks and this and that. And one of my favorite first things that I noticed was when they started off playing one, it sounded like there were Huey helicopters in the palace. That's how loud and shaking it was, and then, the beginning of one. And then the other part that I remember most was, I want to say it's, I don't know if it was Orion, or when Kirk does his guitar solo. He was playing it. He's like over top of the pit, because they had people below their stage too that could see up through, and they had like a pit, and he's playing, and then he takes his guitar and he dips it down into the fans, and they're like, scratching at it, and he pulls it up, and then he just like slings it over and just blows his guitar up. It's like one of these special guitars, and just destroys this guitar on the stage. I don't know, but yeah, 1991, the Black Album. How about your number? Let's skip change directions. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is your number 4. Dave's already talked enough about the show. It was great. It's actually like they let off flash pots and you felt them. And we were in the not upper nosebleeds, but we were like the second balcony, right? Like up the first balcony, right? So, and you felt them. You felt the flames and the flash pots, and it was just like intense. Yeah, I think the other thing I remember about the show is like all of us that were there were huge fans of Metallica, never seen a show before. And it was just like geeking out. Like we were just like, this is so exciting. We get to see Metallica. I can't believe we're here. Can't we're still alive after our teen years, But yeah, it was a great show. Yeah, it was probably, like I said, it's number 3 of my concerts that I went to.
One thing I remember, you don't look cool trying to headbang with short hair. It just doesn't have the effect. And yeah, what a show. So my number 3, I saw this band 8 times, and any one of them could have been on this list. I could have had my top 5 be all Rush. I mean, but there was something extra special about this show. I think this was probably maybe my 3rd time seeing them. This was Rush with Primus. And that was during their When My Name Is Mud album, or whatever that album came out. March 22nd, 1994 at the Palace of Auburn Hills. It was their Counterparts tour. We had 7th row center stage. And, every Rush concert is just, worth just, if you've never seen them, I mean, unfortunately can't see them anymore, but they're just so perfect. And this one, what's real memorable about memorable. There you go.
And action.
And it's easy for you to say. What's really memorable about this particular show is during the end of Closer to the Heart, the ending jam that they do, Alex Lifeson, the guitar player, grabs a drumstick from Neil Peart, and he's just banging on his guitar, and the whole ending, and then he takes the guitar stick and he tosses it out in the crowd. And me, having 7th row center stage, jumped up, and the guitar stick went blink off my finger. And I actually have a video clip of that very concert with him throwing that stick, and I'm going to show it here right now.
So what are we doing now? That's your number. That's an amazing. I don't. Well, maybe my number 1 will have a little bit of the whole interaction with the band.
So that was, you did your 3, I did my 3. Now it's your number 2.
Yeah. So I might have mentioned this before. My friends come to me and they're like, "You got to check out this band. You got to check out this band." I'm like, yeah. I'm 99% of the time I don't, and then I happen to stumble across them, and my friends are like, "You're a dumbass. Duh. We've been telling you this forever." So my buddy John Jones, Doc Jones, bass player for Swag, and did a lot of stuff with Dave and I, Really Rottens, and a whole bunch of other bands. Anyways, he's the bass player that Dave and I know. He came into town with his wife and said, "Hey, we're going to this concert called Rock on the Range in Columbus, Ohio. They take the entire Columbus Crew Stadium, and they have stages outside, stage inside, and we're gonna go to the show. And before we go, we'd like to meet you for dinner." So my wife and I and his wife got together and had pizza and beer. He went to the show. He had a great time. He's like, "Next year, you got to go with me." I'm like, "Okay." So fast forward to the year. What was it? The year 2000. Hold on a second here. 2014. So same scenario. He's coming to town. It's like, you guys can stay with us. So we got 4 tickets, him and his wife, and me and my wife, and we went down. It was a 3-day pass for all these bands. It's called Rock on the Range. And the second day was such a good time that some folks didn't make the second day. So my daughter went with us and we had a blast. The band that I'm going to tell you about is the band that I ignored my buddy John saying, you should check out this band. The band is Chevelle. And I was hooked. We almost got pummeled by the crowd surfers, but I've never before seen 3 artists has such a full sound live than them. And I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. If they can do this live, then their studio albums have got to be awesome. So it's Chevelle. It's my number 2. It was at the Columbus Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio on May 17th, 2014. And by the way, if you get a chance to go to one of those, like, you find a whole bunch of new bands you're going to love. Like, I saw the Pretty Reckless there. I was like, wow, that's a pretty awesome band. If I follow Pretty Reckless, like, she was the singer, was an actress in some show called Gossip Girl, something like that. She's got this really rock voice. It's awesome. Anyways, a lot of other bands, and I'm digressing. So I'm just going to leave my number 2 at, it was Chevelle, and it was awesome.
Cool. My number 2. So I saw this particular show. They came through Detroit or Auburn Hills at the beginning of the tour, and then once again at the end of the tour. And I saw them both. We saw them both times. And this was the Plant Page tour, of Led Zeppelin fame. If for all the youngins that might be watching, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page. This was in March. This particular one was March 1995, Palace, Auburn Hills. And it's like, when you see a legend or legendary band in person, you're just like, I can't believe that's Jimmy Page right there, right there. I could reach out and touch him if I wasn't up in the nosebleeds.
I could fall down and slap him on the way down.
Actually, we weren't nosebleeds. We were like mid-level side stage, so we actually had really good seats. But they did the full gamut of Led Zeppelin songs. They had a local orchestra. They'd always whenever they get to a location, they would have a local orchestra play with them on stage for some of the songs. And it was just an incredible concert. Yeah. So they did just about every hit except No Stairway. And that's pretty common. They don't do Stairway without they haven't done, I don't know if they've done Stairway since Live Aid even.
Wow.
Maybe they have, but they didn't do it on that tour. And John Paul Jones wasn't on this tour, and I just remember seeing that he had sent out a message to them. It's like, hey guys, did you guys forget my number? Because they went out as Plant Page, not as Led Zeppelin. But they had, I think Jason Bonham might have been the drummer at that particular show. I'd have to.
But No Stairway. I mean, just like
denied.
Imagine a song that you've written is so popular, it can never be played again.
Yeah, you can't play it at guitar stores.
Can't play it ever. It's almost like Jack Black's, like, or the Tenacious D's tribute. This is not the greatest song in the world. It's probably yeah. All right, what are we at? Where are we at? We got
number 1. My number 1 is Ultra Fizz Swag at Rivertown Saloon.
Yes. Oh yeah, no. I knew that was coming.
No, just kidding. But that was a great show. I have to admit, that was one of the best nights of me playing live. Anyways,
was that the CD release party, or was that was your show? We were just opening.
Yes, no, we opened for you, but it was our show, but it wasn't your CD release.
Okay, all right.
But okay, for reals. My number one, July 24th, 2011, Comerica Park, which is where the Tigers play, Detroit, Michigan. I mean, if there is royalty in music and there's a current king of all music, it's Paul McCartney. So,
Sir
Paul McCartney.
Sir Paul.
I mean, there you go.
Right.
I mean, what can you say about Sir Paul McCartney? I think I have some video that I took on my phone of Ann sitting out in front of the big Detroit Tiger in front while he's doing his sound check, and you can hear him in the background. And I was like, Paul McCartney. I mean,
this is happening.
That's Paul McCartney. And it was probably a better part of 3 hours. There's no opening act.
Wow. 3 hours. Oh my gosh. You got your money's worth on that show, dude.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything from early Beatles through Wings, just to a solo. I mean,
that's a cool show, man. And that was at Comerica Park.
Comerica Park. He was set up in the outfield, along right center field. What can you say about Paul McCartney?
Sir Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was that's a good show, man. Like that's for, I mean, if you're talking about bucket list shows to go to, that's another one right there, is to be able to see him in action.
Couldn't have imagined not seeing one of the Beatles live.
Yeah, you can't change that at all. That they can't take that away from you. You can't take that memory away from you, right?
Nope.
No regrets.
Number one for you.
Number one for me, certainly not seeing rock royalty. I mean, have you ever gone to a show where you're like, I'm pleasantly surprised? I had no idea. Holy shit, they're great, right? This was 3 bands in one. Well, the one band I want to go see, the headliner, was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But that's not why it made it a great show. Although going to see the Peppers is a great show. What made it a great show was this, oh shit, I had no idea these people existed. They're amazing. So we get to the State Theater. The date is January 17th. It's cold as F outside. It's January 17th, 1992. And my friends, you remember Kyle?
Yes.
Yeah, Kyle and his sister Tanya. They're like, we're gonna go see the Peppers, and we're really keen on some of these folks that are opening up. So you got to come and see them. I'm like, okay, I've never heard of them, so I'll come and see them. So the opening act, the first band in this trio, is the Smashing Pumpkins, and they're out supporting their Gish album. And was it Gish? No, it wasn't Gish. It was Siamese Dream. At least there were some songs out there they played, but they played a lot of the Gish stuff too. And so it was early. We got there early. We're the first ones there. So we're down, like you said before, where that place you wouldn't go when you went to the Alice in Chains show. We were there, and there were not a lot of people. They weren't very known at the time. And it was just an amazing set that they did. And then it started to get after that. I was like, I turned to Kyle and Tanya and some other folks and said, that was freaking awesome. I had no idea. Like you feel like you just got in on the ground level of something pretty cool. You get to say, I saw the Pumpkins in the early days. And so the second band, it starts to get more and more crowded. And like, I'm not really good with like crowded places, but it was borderline uncomfortable. But the band came out and started playing, and that band is Pearl Jam. And I'm like, fuck, can this night get any better? Like, this is amazing. Eddie's doing his stuff, right? He's running around the stage. The guitars sounded amazing. We weren't getting crushed in. It was still a decent crowd. And then Eddie jumps into the crowd, and he's surfing all over the place. And I got to high five Eddie better.
Oh,
And I
sweet.
turned to Tanya and I said, I got the high five of him. She says, I grabbed his dick. I'm like, well, I guess you won. I guess you won. So, but it was, and then the Peppers came out next. And it kind of like there's so much awesomeness in those first two acts that like the universe decided to balance itself out because the universe let 5,000 more people into the state theater and it got super packed. And by the end of the first song, I after 3 combat boots to the back of my head, I'm like, I can't breathe. I need to get out of here. So I backed up to those to where the bars were at the upper level of the ground level, but was way in the back, right? Still a great show. The Peppers put on a great show. I think that night they came out wearing the construction helmets with the fire on top. That's what they were wearing that night. I think that was all they were wearing that night. But that was the show. I mean, you think about it, going to a show to see 3 major bands like that back in 1992, Pumpkins, Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, and Peppers was just, that's my number one forever.
So you went there to go see the Red Hot Chili Peppers and not knowing who these other 2 bands were.
I had no clue. I had never heard of them. And
I almost said, can you imagine? But yeah, of course you could imagine because you just did it. I mean, you did it. But well, for St. Patrick's Day, it's Sláinte.
Sure. Yes. Cilantro.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.